Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be reviewing this Nissan GT-R T-Spec. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Ken Garf Nissan here in Salt Lake City, Utah for giving me some time with this GT-R. This particular T-Spec is still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can reach out to them. If you have any questions, just ask for Paul. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering this is a hand-built twin-turbo 3.8-liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 16 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 565 horsepower and then 467 pound-feet of torque. And just look at all of the accenting. Then, of course, you can see the hand-built plaque as well. Just a really cool display. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, really distinctive lines, and of course we have the signature GT-R Knockadux, which I think looks so cool. Now we of course have the GT-R's signature headlights here, which just looks so aggressive, love them. And then look at this new honeycomb design off to the side. And then sorry if the camera kind of unfocuses a little bit here, but look how it's all body painted now. I think that's really cool. And of course we got the GT-R logo there, front and center. But when you put it all together, I definitely like the fresh face here on the GT-R. It looks really cool. Now, tire wheel setup up front is 255, 40, 20, and then in the rear it's 285, 35, 20. Now you guys can see here with the wheel design, you actually have these alloy wheels. I love the coloration on them, and you guys can see that contrasts very nicely with the yellow brake caliper. And speaking of brakes, we've got these special carbon ceramics made with Brembo, which again also adds to the performance here on the T-Spec. So basically lighter weight wheels and also lighter weight brakes with better braking power. I love how it's blacked out there at the bottom and all along the side. I think that looks really cool. Of course, we've got our signature GT-R venting right there with the logo on it. And then you guys can see with the mirror capsules are body painted, and then we have the cool pop-out door handles. And this brings us to the side profile, which is so iconic. I mean, just look at how that flows. Now here's a quick look at the key fob. You guys can see you've got the GT-R logo there at the top. But other than that, it's Nissan's normal key fob. And this brings us to the cargo area here for the GT-R. And this is one thing that's cool about the GT-R. Even though this is basically a supercar, you actually have a pretty big trunk here in the back. And this is not the only place you can use for cargo, but yeah, that's crazy. Now, something that's funny to note is that the spoiler is so big that you can just bring the trunk right here and then it'll just close itself. And here's a look at that spoiler, which I feel like is another iconic part of the GT-R styling. And then we have these circular taillights, which also adds to the cool factor. We have the special T-Spec badge, as you can see. Parking sensors there, and then we've got the titanium exhaust. Just look at how cool that is, and look at the overall diffuser setup as well. And putting it all together, let me know what you guys think about the GT-R styling. I feel like the styling just gets cooler as time goes on because nobody styles cars like this. It's just like, it's so out there. Now, first off, fit and finish with the GT-R interior is amazing, and we have this really cool green leather, which absolutely pops, and I love the contrasted stitching as well. Automatic windows, door lock and unlock, all the normal stuff, and then just a quick look at the mirrors. And then we have the cool handles here inside where you pull that up to open up the door. I think that's also fun. Now, if I pull this little handle on the seat, that'll bring the seat forward, and that will let me access the back seats, which are also green, as you can see. That's so cool. Sorry about the lighting with that. That's kind of horrible. But anyways, yeah, you do have back seats, so this also adds to the practicality. I mean, I wouldn't really put adults back there, but you can definitely use it for like extra storage. You can also put kids back there. But the most important thing is it houses some of the oomph for the Bose sound system. And well, I hope you like green because it continues onto the front seats, and I love the inserts there. And you can see it's perforated here. And by the way, the padding is, I mean, look at how nicely padded this all is. These seats are extremely comfortable for such a high performance car. And then you guys can see some of the stuff on the end seats, like the heated seat function, some of the adjustment action here. And then look at the pedals. And then we have the GT-R logo here, which is really cool. And then you got that for the parking sensors, that's to open up the trunk. Your mirror adjustment is right here. You can see more of the green, and then also the Alcantara here on the dash. And this of course leads us to the steering wheel for the GT-R. Really nice stitching and everything around the airbag cover with the GT-R logo. front and center. And I like the overall feel of the steering wheel. This is kind of random to mention, but it just feels so sturdy. And that's kind of, I feel like, the hallmark of the GTRs. Everything in here feels really well built. You guys can see paddle shifters there on the back of the steering wheel. And then we got stuff like cruise control, for example. You've got your volume controls, everything's got, you know, practical daily driver stuff. And then we do have some regular stock action there in the back too. Now here's the gauge cluster. You guys can see the carbon fiber print all over. Mostly analog, right? Even in 2024, which again is just part of the charm of this car in my opinion, but you can scroll through different bits of info to see stuff on the car itself with the little pages button right there. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and when it comes to resolution, I mean, not necessarily the best, but it gets the job done. And this leads us to the infotainment system. So first off, you got like the shortcut buttons all around. And when it comes to overall response time with the screen, this is obviously not Nissan's newest unit, so there is a little bit of lag to it. But again, it's a GTR, like how often are you gonna use the screen? Like I imagine for most people, you just basically hook your phone up, play your music through it, and that's the last time you'll actually probably touch stuff on the screen itself. But I do like the fact that it has physical buttons. That's nice. And while we're in this area, look at the dash with all of the stitching here and all of the Alcantara, and then you can see with the green leather down below. And again, like I said, the fit and finish in this is just top notch. You can tell that they put a lot of love into this car. Now we do have our controls here for the dual zone climate, and then we've got the exciting stuff. So not the best camera view, but you guys can see we've got the performance stuff. So basically just hold this on for the different items, and that puts everything into the race function. Basically now we're in a full-on race car mode. But yeah, it just, again, it feels like you're doing something like substantial with the switches because you got to hold it down for a second. And then you guys see the stop start button, another cool part of the GTR. And then I really like the shifter here actually. So basically pull it down and it'll actually pop over for reverse, which is interesting. So that's kind of cool. And then you got to pull it all the way down, obviously, for drive. And then manual mode, you just put it over to the side, which also kind of adds a cool factor. And it'll show you in the gauge cluster, by the way, that it's in manual mode. But I don't know, they like all shifters are either weird nowadays, or they're like, you know, straight in a line. This where it kind of goes around, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Now you probably noticed the carbon fiber here, and then this is actually analog control for the infotainment system if you don't want to use the touchscreen, and it's actually super, like playing with this is super responsive. Got a T-Spec logo right there, and then you guys can see you got cup holders, which you can actually cover up, which is kind of interesting. And then we actually get a traditional brake, which, yeah, I mean, crazy again to see one of these. And then you guys can see with the center console, decent storage there, some USB action. And speaking of storage, we actually still have a traditional glove box lined with felts, which feels really nice. And even the outside of the glove box is kind of like padded, if that makes sense. And then there's obviously the leather above it. Now this is always hard to show because of the lighting, but you guys can see here on the pillars, and then also with the headliner, hopefully the camera, there you go, it'll pick it up. So you guys can see that, and then look at this at the top. That's so cool with the stitching design. Again, just adds to the fun. Even the visors have kind of like the nice look. And so when you put, like, look at this, like with the seat, and then with that, I don't know, it's cool to see it all next to each other. So here's our window sticker for this 2024 Nissan GTR T-Spec. You guys can see the standard equipment here with this, which pretty much everything is standard with the GTRs. But here's the T-Spec features. So you guys can see a big part of it is obviously the carbon ceramic brakes, and I love how like detailed they get into it. Like most manufacturers are going to be like, we have carbon ceramics, and they're like, we got to tell you everything that's happening with these carbon ceramic brakes. But you guys can also see with the forged wheels, and then I guess, yeah, the headliner is also part of the package, and then of course, you know, the T-Spec badges and everything. And let me know what you guys think about this packaging. So basically it's some exterior stuff and some brakes and some wheels and everything. But anyways, base MSRP $140,990, and then it looks like the paint color is $3 grand. Wow. Anyways, total MSRP $146,400. And with that being said, let's sum things up. So I just want to cap things off with this video with a few final thoughts, and then also a little, I guess, update thing. So the update thing first, I will be reaching out to Nissan when I get some time to see if they'll send out one of these to Utah as a demo car for me to have for the week, where I can get like good driving impressions for all of you that want to see, you know, what the new GTR drives like. And then in terms of like kind of my final thoughts here on this GTR. So first off, I really like the new looks. So they actually happen to have a 2013 GTR, as you can see. And so I was able to kind of see these next to each other, and it's really cool to see the slight differences in the car. Either way, I think the GTR looks cool. So refreshed or not, I think both of them look great. Let me know if you like the painted front end look, or if you like the previous look where like the grille is basically blacked out for the most part. But the GTR itself, here's the deal. This is overlooked by a lot of people, and I think there's a few reasons why you shouldn't overlook this. So first off, although this has been built since like what, 2009, they've like built these for quite some time, there's not a ton of GTRs out there because a lot of people have modified these and wrecked them. And so like the amount of GTRs out there that are like still running and everything, it's a pretty small percentage. So it's still a rare car, like it's rare to see these. And then on top of that, this gives you an experience that no other modern, you know, supercar or sports car really gives you. First off, the all-wheel drive grip and the launch control is still insane to this day. Even with electric cars, like this thing is still, it's crazy how fast these are when you do launch control, just the general acceleration. And then on top of that, having an older school dual clutch is so fun. Like with the modern cars being so crisp and so smooth, it's like, that's great, but there's no engagement and no excitement. This is one of the few automatic cars that me as an enthusiast actually really likes because it's clunky, and that's what's like so charming about the car. And then I mentioned this through the walk around, like the build quality in the GTR is absolutely fantastic. Like everything is super tight, fit and finish is great. Like you can tell that whoever put this car together like absolutely loves what they do. And so I think if you're looking for like a modern car with a warranty, a full factory warranty that feels special, that's rare, that's super exciting to drive, that is different compared to everything else in the market, the GTR provides that. So like, you know, again, me as a car enthusiast, like if money was not an option and I could buy a Lamborghini or Ferrari, all that kind of stuff, I reviewed those cars at this point, I would actually get a GTR because not only could I daily drive this, which would be cool, but it feels more special than those cars nowadays. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you.